everyone, and welcome back to Down the Hobbit Hole. My name is Emily, and this is my usually weekly podcast about knitting and spinning and all things making. Today is Thursday, October the 19th, 2017, and this is episode 27. So I'll pop up on the screen somewhere, because I haven't done this before, where you can find me online and how you can get in contact with me if you need to. And that will allow us to move right along. So we are currently at 99 subscribers for this channel on YouTube. And once we hit 100 subscribers, I'm going to go ahead and do a 100 subscriber giveaway. So it'll be pretty straightforward. Once we hit the 100 subscribers, I'll go ahead and open a thread in the Ravelry group, which there will be a link to down below. And I'll open a thread. It'll have some kind of a prompt. You'll answer it, and then I will randomly draw for prizes. So our prizes were actually, I got contacted by the wonderful ladies of Beautiful Syster, and they offered to send some project bags, one for me and one for you guys. So that's what we'll be using for the 100 subscriber giveaway. You'll be getting a project bag and a skein of yarn, so it's very exciting. The project bag I'll be giving away is, and I'll be telling you guys a little bit more about the Beautiful Syster shop as we go along. But here is the bag that we'll be doing for the 100 subscriber giveaway. There we go. And this is the Hillary bag. And you can see they've got their tag here on the side. And it's just this great little bag with box bottom, a little pocket on the inside, handle swivels, which is really nice, and it feels really, really nice and sturdy, and it's in beautiful fall colors, so this will be perfect. And I haven't picked out the yarn yet, but I will be pairing a skein of yarn as well from MistyMountMakers, my hand-dyed yarn, so I'll be including a skein with that as well. But this is the Hillary bag, and the company is made up of two sisters. There's Hillary and Heather, and they each design their own bag and sew them themselves. They do everything themselves. And this is the bag that I chose to keep. And this is the Heather bag, and it's got these two ties that hang down on either side, and it's got this strap so you can just keep it on your arm, and on the inside it has a nice snazzy little pocket, and then you can put your project in there and tie it shut, keep everything inside, or even tuck in if you have like a tote bag or something. You can just tuck it in and tie the whole thing shut. I really like it, and really love these colors and this fabric. And the fact that you can see these little blips of color in the seams. I love that. So, this is the Heather bag. And the name that they have, Beautiful Syster, is there are actually 4 sisters all together, but only 2 of them are part of the business. And before the business ever started, they all got tattoos that said Beautiful Syster, but they used the Swedish spelling of sister, so that's why it's S-Y-S-T-E-R. And I just think that's really cool that they're able to have this business together and just make project bags and go around to shows. So if you see them in the area, definitely check them out. I will link to their Etsy and everything else down below, and in the thread once we have the 100 subscriber giveaway going, so that you can check them out, see if they're going to be near you. I know they'll be in Orlando, or they'll be in Florida. They may have just been in Orlando. And I'll leave information down here of where their next show is, so you guys can check them out. And definitely check out their Instagram, which will be at beautiful_Syster. They've got a lot of beautiful things up there, and you can see their project bags as they go around to different places. So definitely check it out. And I'll announce that 100 subscriber giveaway thread next week, if we have reached 100 subscribers, which I think we will, since we're at 99. Yeah, so once it's open, all you'll have to do is be subscribed to the channel, be a member of the group, and just respond to whatever prompt I leave on there, and then I'll just randomly pick, and the winner will get, once more, this beautiful bag, and a skein of my yarn. And then I have one last piece of administrative information before we get into knitting and finished objects. Tim and I will be in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, on Saturday, this Saturday, so in 2 days, for Fiber in the Burrow. So it's a really cool show. I think last year was the first year where they moved indoors. Last year was also the first year that we went. But it's a great show. A lot of different types of people there, or different types of vendors. And they have a little food stall and everything. It's really great. It's a lot of fun. So definitely come, say hello, let me know if you watch the show, and hopefully we will see you there. We've got lots of yarn dyed, lots of bats made up, and I just washed my hair, so it's still wet and kind of floppy, so I'm sorry about all this. But we will also hopefully have some project bags, so if you're able to come see us. Otherwise, we'll be having an update next week with whatever yarn didn't sell at the show, so you can always catch some skeins then. So hopefully we'll see you there, but if not, we'll still have a chance at yarn. But I think that takes us into finished objects. And I'm sorry if I'm talking really fast. It's been 3 or 4 weeks, I think, since I last recorded, and I'm feeling a little out of practice, which is what happens when you take a break from podcasting. But we'll see if I can get through this smoothly. The first thing I want to show you guys, I have a lot of finished objects, but we're going to start with an old one, a whip that I have been working on before, and a brand new finished object that you haven't seen before. So the first one, these are the socks that I made for Tim, if you guys remember. This is Cascade 220 Superwash, and Cascade 220 Superwash, this is the Quattro, I think, where each ply is a different color. Now these are the socks I made for Tim, and they are Taylor's Orange toe-up socks, I think. I'll leave a link down below and put it up on the screen so you guys can see. But I made those for Tim, and then I started making a pair for myself. And this is where I was last time I showed these to you guys. I was working on these toe up 2 at a time, and I finished both pairs, or both socks. So they're still damp, so they're drying, but I finished them. I'm very excited. Feels really, really good to get these off the needles. But I needed these finished because Tim and I wanted to take a photo to announce that we are in need of tiny socks because, yeah, I'm pregnant. We're working on a person. So I made these itty bitty adorable boot socks. I'm sorry if I'm hitting very high notes in my excitement, but I am super excited. I'm about 9 weeks pregnant at this point. So, yeah, we are doing, and I just finished these today. So we're going to be doing our announcement photo probably before I post this podcast, because I'll have to get this edited and up tonight. But I'm very excited. Tim's really excited. I have 2 friends. Well, I have 3 friends that just had babies. And I have 2 friends who are also pregnant right now. And I just found out about one of them. I'm due in May. She's due in April. And then my friend Anna is due in March. So, yeah, we're going to have our kids pretty close together. Which is a lot of fun. Tim says we need to start a food swap, so that, like a pregnant lady food swap, so when I buy something, eat like an eighth of it, and then I'm disgusted with it, I can like put it up for grabs for the other pregnant ladies, see if they're interested in it, which actually might work out really well. But I don't think we're quite there yet. But yeah, I don't remember the name of this pattern, but I will link it down below. It's not the same pattern as the socks that I made for us, but they're just itty bitty boot socks. So yeah. So cute. So I'm excited about that. A lot of my knitting will be gearing towards the floor, but also away from knitting for my friends who are pregnant. Now that I know that I will be knitting more for myself, because I am a selfish knitter. I prefer to knit for myself, and whenever I decide I'm going to knit for other people, I tend to feel extremely obligated, and then I just can't get myself into the mindset of working on that project. And I mentioned on the last episode that I'm not very good at keeping secrets, and that's part of why I haven't recorded in the past little while. I was already just really nauseous, didn't want to have anything to do with anything. I spent most of the last few weeks just kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to eat and watching Tim play video games, because that's the only thing I really had the energy for. So I'm glad to be recording again. I really missed podcasting, but I had plenty of time to knit, and yeah, I've got other things to show you, so I'm sorry, I'm excited, and now I've rambled. But I have been making pumpkins, because at Hook and Needle they're doing a pumpkin along. So this is the pumpkin spice pattern, I believe, and it's paid for pattern. It's $5, but you wind up with a very nicely shaped pumpkin at the end of it, which I've noticed with a lot of patterns for like stuffies and plushies, that when you go into the photo gallery, it doesn't always look like the original project photo from the designer, and I think a lot of that has to do with the shaping instructions that go into it. Not necessarily the knitting itself, but like the way that you make this pumpkin, the way you shape it after you're done knitting. The photos are really great. They show you step by step what you're doing, and so pretty much all the photos in the photo gallery look like it's supposed to. They all look like the finished object photos in Ravelry, so that's nice. I made 3 of these all together. These 2 are for me, and then, oh my gosh, so Tim has a friend at work who's got 2 little girls, and one of them's about 3, and she decided she had to make a pumpkin for Mr. Tim. And Tim thought everyone at work got one, but really it was just Tim. And it was just a tiny pumpkin from the store, like the kind you get 2 for $1 or something. And she'd smeared black paint on it, and then doodled all over a piece of paper and used like a punch to cut out fish shapes and things like that. And gave that to him. So Tim told me about it while he was at work. And he wanted to know if I could make him, or make her a pumpkin, so that, because he knew I'd been knitting pumpkins already, so I dug through my stash and I found this like rainbow yarn that I knitted a pumpkin out of with a bright green top, and we gave that to her with a piece of paper that has an outline of my hand and then an outline of his hand, because his hand's so much bigger than mine. And we put a star in the middle, and it says like infinite high fives or something like that, so she can put it on the wall and high five it whenever she wants to. So that was fun. She's got that. I've got a video that I'll plug in maybe up here, just kind of showing her pumpkin and our pumpkin. So I don't have it anymore. Gave it to her, and she loved it. Another thing that I finished, Tim was out of town for a week. He went down to Texas to help with Hurricane Harvey relief. And so while he was gone, I grabbed his hat and finished this. So this is where I was the last time you guys saw it. And I think this is called the Skiman's hat. And this is out of Cascade 220 in a like green heather that this is not capturing well at all, but it's a really, yeah, I think that's right. But it's a really nice hat. Tim loves it. He keeps asking me if he can take off the pin, which now he can. But this is where I was the last time you guys saw it. But I finally finished it, and I was very happy to give it to him when he got home. And the past 2 mornings have been really cold, so I kind of, neither of us thought about it, but I really should have, had this ready for him to wear without the pin. I could have just taken out the pin, but he really likes it, and he's going to get a lot more wear out of it. And he's been nervous about knitted items because he's afraid it's going to crush his glasses into his head, which I've never had a problem with, but that's kind of what he thought was going to happen, and this does not do that. None of the hats that I have do that, except for the ones that are sized for my head. But anything that I've made for him, he doesn't have a problem with. So he's going to get a lot of use out of this winter. And I feel so good that I finally finished something for him, because he really deserves all of the knitwear all of the time. And I think this is my final finished object. Yeah. This is my Brooklyn Brocade Hat. And this is by my friend on Instagram, Aaliyah Staggs. And you can see the pattern here a little better. And it's just this really intuitive pattern. It's so easy to knit. As soon as you start knitting and placing those purl bumps, you know exactly where to go, and you really don't need the chart after the first couple of rows. And with this patterning, you're like, oh, well, I can just get to the next, I'll just get to the next square, or diamond. I'll get to the next diamond. And then all of a sudden you're at the crown shaping, and you're like, oh, well, guess I'm done with that. Because you can definitely finish this hat in an evening. It's Aran weight yarn on size 10 needles, I think. 10 and a half. I'll put it up here. But yeah, I put a great big pom-pom on top, and I really like it. I'm really happy with it. I feel so goofy with my gigantic pom-pom, but I love it. So, but this is her new pattern. I know she's got another pattern that's in testing right now, and I really wanted to test it, but I haven't been feeling up to much, having to focus on much of anything. Most of the things that I finished before, like, morning sickness and things really started to settle in. So lately it's just been stockinette. Lots and lots of stockinette. But this was fun. And this, I really want to make another one for Tim in like a charcoal color maybe. I know he doesn't want anything bright and fancy like, or not fancy, but he doesn't want anything bright like this. I thought Megan from Little Fish Stitches podcast, she was also test knitting, and she made one. My hat's more of a mustardy orange yellow. She made like a bright yellow hat, a bright yellow version, but in a child size. that had this cute little I-cord like curl coming off of it, like a little piglet tail. Very, very cute. She showed it 2 podcasts ago, I think. I think it was her episode 19. So I like her version too, but I think the pom-pom suited me more. But I think that's all for finished objects from the past few weeks. I have been working on a few other things. I finally laid out the smaller quilt that I'm going to be making. So I have it sectioned off into rows so I can get sewing on that. And I haven't done much work on my Christmas tree quilt. So before I start sewing the other quilt, I should probably make the Christmas tree, but we've been geared so much into fiber in the burrow and getting ready for that I haven't had a lot of time to do any sewing except project bags. And I haven't been able to do as much of that as I wanted to. But that's okay. There will always be more shows, and it can always go online. So either way, it works out. The only knitting that I've really been doing over the past few days, the socks, trying to get those socks finished. And I've been working on these guys. So, here are these socks. And this is my divider for where the socks will be split. I'm at about 6 inches from that point now. So I need to do 4 more inches, and then I get to do the cuff. So hopefully I'll be able to do that on the drive to Fiber in the Burrow, which I think is 4 hours away, 3? I think it's more like 3 hours away. So we're going to leave bright and early, and I should be able to get some knitting done in the car, since I don't really have to look at this. It's just stockinette stitch. And once I'm finished, I'll probably set these aside, and then I have some Christmas socks that I want to work on. So I think I'll be making another tube just like this. And then once I'm done with both tubes, I'll do all the cutting in for toes and heels kind of all at once for both pairs, and just kind of get them all ready to go at once. And then I'll just have 2 new pairs of socks, and it'll be great. I do think, though, that if I'm going to be making these taller socks, I'm going to need to get some, like, winter boots, like ankle boots, that are going to show off my socks, so they're not always hidden in my pants or something. I don't know. I feel like my socks are going to be wasted under jeans. The only time anyone's ever going to see them is when I'm at the spinning guild and I've got my shoes off to spin on my wheel. The last bit of knitting that I kind of have to do, and this is obligation knitting, but also I'm excited to work on this. My friend Anna, who's due in March, they just found out that they're having a boy, and I dyed this yarn up. Nope. This was Cascade 220, no, Cascade long wool, and as you guys know, I've been working through a lot of Cascade 220 in my stash. And what I've noticed in a lot of it, and this is older stuff, and I don't think, at first I was nervous and I thought maybe I had moth damage, but nothing else in my stash has been affected, and there are no remains in the yarn. But here we go. Well, that's not a good place to show you. I had to break the yarn repeatedly to remove spots where the yarn didn't break, but a ply broke. So it's... There we go. Of all those plies, maybe 1 or 2 of them was broken in a spot. But it's superwash wool, so I can't like felt it back together. So I'm just going to end up with these 2 little strings poking out of my knitting. And I ran into that a lot with Tim's hat. Now this is feltable, so I was able to felt some of those spots together. And if I was nervous about it, or if it was a larger section, I just laid down another piece of yarn and just held two pieces together. But you end up with a lot of ends to weave in. And, I mean, you can't really see it looking at the knitting, but I don't like having to do that. So with this, as I was scanning it up, because it was a very dull red before, and I dyed it to make it this nice bright red, because she really likes having, she wears a lot of black and white, but then I'll have a bright red, like, accessory or something, and always has bright red lipstick. So I made her yoga socks a while ago out of Malabrigo Rios, and they were bright red, and they had a stag cable pattern that went up the middle, and she really liked that because she's really proud of her Scottish heritage and everything. And I wanted to make a sweater. I'm going to use flax as my basis, or the base pattern, and I'm going to put a stag pattern up the chest and just leave the arms plain. And I think I'm going to put the stag pattern up the back too, so the sweater is reversible just in case, I don't know, just in case the kid spills something on, or coughs up on the shirt or something like that. So I've got plenty of yarn for it. Just not as happy with those broken plies. But this has so many plies in it. I think it's got about 10 or 12 plies in it. It should be fine. I think it's going to be okay. It's machine washable. It's incredibly soft because it's an extra fine merino superwash. So I think she's really going to like this, and I think it's going to be a great color for their little one that's on the way. So for projects I have planned, that's really one of the only ones that I have planned. I have a couple of ideas of things that I want to make, and it's just right now I'm just really kind of tired all the time, and usually hungry but not wanting to eat anything in the house. So I haven't been doing a lot of knitting at all. I've just been kind of plugging away, dyeing yarn, and working on things for the festival, and just staying focused on that and putting all of my available brain activity towards that, and just kind of being excited about the fact that we are going to be having a kid. So I've been daydreaming a little bit, going through Ravelry, finding patterns. I just haven't cast anything on. So I'll be making that sweater for Anna. So once I'm done with her sweater, I want to get the pattern Strange Brew by Tin Can Knits. And it's a new, like, plug-and-play pattern that they've come out with. And it's making a Fair Isle sweater. You start at the bottom, work your way up, and it's got charts that you can plug in to do the yoke. And you can also use those charts for the cuffs and the waist. So I really, really, really want that. And it comes in child sizes. So yeah, I'm excited about that pattern. So once I finish Anna's sweater, I need to get it done before her baby shower. I'm going to buy that pattern for myself, and I want to make a pattern. And we've got about 8 weeks before we find out the gender. So I'm not starting this particular project yet, but hang on a second. Okay. Depending on how I edited that, you may or may not have just seen my sweatpants. We'll see. But I went through my UFOs and I found these guys. And this is something I had been working on before, and I have all these different granny squares in different shades, like different wintry tones. And so I've got a bunch of these, and I gave up on this project. I didn't give up on this project. I stopped working on it a very long time ago and thought about it, and I was like, well, I could definitely use that. So I dug it out, and it's all superwash Cascade 220. So what I want to do is, once I find out if it is a boy or a girl, I'm going to assemble this into a baby blanket and use the use the leftovers to make a strange brew sweater. So I've got all of these beautiful shades of excess squares of blues, gray, black, white, and I'm going to pair them all together to make that sweater. And what I'm going to do, and I took a photo of the of the colors all together and put it in black and white, and it seems like the contrast is pretty good. What I want to do is, once we know if it's a boy or a girl, if it is a girl, add in some more feminine colors. I'm not for or against gender specific colors. What I want to avoid, we have a very pretty dog. His name is Tesla, and he's gorgeous. I'll put a little thing of him up here, but he is always called a she. It's not a big deal, really, but whenever we tell people, no, his name is Tesla, he is a boy, people tend to get, it becomes a whole conversation about, well, why did you name him Tesla? And we have to explain, and we just want people to look at our baby, know if it's a boy or a girl. We don't want to go through the conversation. So, I know that seems silly, but it'll just save time. Just with Tesla, I feel like I need to get him like a proper tie, because whenever I put a bow tie on him, people still think he's a girl, even though it's hanging in front. Like, it shouldn't bother me. It doesn't really bother me. On a person-to-person basis, it doesn't bother me. On a, as a whole, having to have that conversation all the time is what bothers me. Because I know for each person, it's just an easy mistake to make. But you get tired of explaining it all the time. So, if it's a girl, I'll probably work in some pinks or purples or something to give it a more feminine leaning. And if it's a boy, I'll just stick with the colors I have and go from there. So that's the plan. I really like knowing that I have all of this already there from projects that I had a long time ago. So I'll be able to put this whole thing together, and then, yeah, I'll have a blanket. And I cannot wait for the strange brew pattern. I'm just forcing myself to wait so I actually finish Anna's sweater for her baby before I go diving into making one for mine. So that's all I've really got for future knitting. If you guys know of any fun baby patterns that you've been eyeballing or that you've made in the past, definitely let me know. Tag me below or somewhere. Maybe I'll start a thread on Instagram. Maybe I'll start a thread in the Ravelry group for you guys to give me suggestions if you have any. But yeah, I think that's all we've got for the podcast. I do have some life stuff to talk about after this. So if you're just here for the knitting, well then thank you for showing up. I hope you enjoyed the episode. And hopefully we'll see you guys at Fiber in the Burrow this weekend. And go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll let you guys know when we've got that 100 subscriber thread started. I'll let you guys know on Ravelry or on Instagram, I guess. Or you can just wait for the next podcast episode and I'll announce it there. So thank you again for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next week. Alright, and for everyone else, I've got just, I guess, a tiny bit of life stuff. So yeah, I've already talked quite a bit about the fact that I'm pregnant. Yeah. And so that's kind of our big news for now. I was able to go with Anna. We went to Harry Potter in concert, where it's the Knoxville Symphony, and they play Harry Potter, but they've taken the soundtrack out of the movie, and the orchestra is actually playing the soundtrack as you're watching the movie. It was fantastic. Our seats were amazing, and it was actually thanks to one of my amazing friends that we got to go, because she mentioned that her son was really excited about going, and she was surprised because she didn't really think that was something he was into, and I started flapping about how much I wanted to go, but as soon as I saw like the cost of the tickets, I was kind of like, well, I guess I won't be able to go to that, because I think like the lowest price you could get was, the lowest I saw at first was in like the 50s, I think, and that's a bit much for us at the moment. So she was like, oh, well, my husband's company's sponsoring it. It's happening in like 3 days and these tickets haven't been claimed. Do you want me to see if there are any left? I was like, what, you get? Yes, please. That would be great. And she was able to get me tickets. It was amazing and so kind of her, and I had an absolute blast. I'm trying to talk to him into going. They're doing Indiana Jones and Chamber of Secrets next in January. So I really want to do both. I don't know if we're going to be able to. We're probably only going to be able to do one if we do any of them. And it'll probably be Indiana Jones, because that's something we both like. Not that he doesn't like Harry Potter, but he's not as into it as I am. But it was so much fun. If you get a chance to go, because I think they do it all over the country. Like different orchestras will decide to do the concert series and things like that. But you should definitely do it if you get the chance to go. They encourage you to, shout and catcall and cheer for different characters as they come on the screen. And I know at the end of the movie, when Dumbledore's giving out the last minute points and it gets to Neville, everybody was just like waiting, and nobody was cheering for any of the characters until Neville got his points, and then the whole room just kind of erupted into lots of cheers for Neville. So it's lots of fun. It was really great. So it was more interactive. You weren't just sitting there the whole time watching a movie while the orchestra plays. So it was cool. We really liked it. Oh, I will be going to SAF, not this weekend, but the weekend after. And if you're going to be there and you see me, definitely come up and say hi. I will not be vending. I will just be there as a shopper. But I should be in Asheville for the full weekend of the festival. I don't know what days we will actually end up going to the festival. I'm renting a house with some other ladies, and we're planning on just having a really nice weekend in Asheville, hanging out and just kind of doing whatever we want. So it should be a lot of fun. Definitely come up and say hi to me if you see me. I can sometimes get a bit of a deer in headlights look when people introduce themselves, but I really enjoy meeting people who watch the podcast. Just if I kind of go blank, I'm sorry. If you see like a deer in headlights look, don't worry. Give me a minute. It'll pass. But yeah, come up and say hi. Show me what you're getting at the festival. I will hopefully have lots of yarn to show you guys when I get back. And yeah, it's looking like it's going to be a good couple of weekends coming up. So I'm really excited about that. I think that's everything I've got to talk about. So definitely head on over to the Ravelry group. Keep an eye out for that 100 subscriber giveaway. And I'll have a thread up so you guys can suggest any baby patterns that you have used or you've been, eyeballing for yourself. Just Give me all your suggestions there. And yeah, I think that's it. So thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate everyone who comes back week after week. And I'll see you guys next week. So bye guys. Happy making.